Sean Strickland tells the women to get back to the kitchen, but in fact it was the heat in the kitchen that was too much for him, and he got burned as he went to Sydney, Australia, down under, and he lost a unanimous decision to Du Plessis. Welcome back, guys, to Fog Wrestling, here to talk about UFC 312, a little bit out of date, but still, 48 hours. I'm sure the nose of Sean Strickland still ain't looking good. His title hopes aren't looking good either. It was debatable whether he won the first fight. I actually thought he won it. A lot of people thought he won it. He lost his title, split decision. No, there was no doubt who won this one. One of the judges gave Sean Strickland a round. The other two had it 5-0 to Du Plessis. And I think that it was a dominating fight, one-sided fight. Can't even really use the nose break as an excuse, because that was probably Sean Strickland's best round. When he broke his nose, that was the only round where he outlanded his opponent in strikes, so not quite sure what happened there. Maybe he went into panic mode, fight or flight mode, but it's a defeat for Strickland. 43 years old now, he's lost to the champion twice. It's going to be a long road back for him to get his hands on the UFC middleweight championship, and I think probably the only chance he's going to get at winning that belt back will be if somebody else comes along and beats the South African.
There was a problem down under, mate. There really was for Sean Strickland. 29-7, but I feel like a 29-7 record in UFC. Is that not more tolerable than a boxing record?
It is, but it's still not great. I think when you've lost 7 fights, you are kind of heading towards decent at best fighter. Now, look, some people maybe finish with 7 defeats on the record, but a lot of those defeats come at the end of their career, when they've maybe stuck around an extra few years longer just to get the money, and they've maybe, just not been that good and that they should have retired earlier. But with Sean Strickland, the guy's only, 33, and he's lost 7 fights. If he continues going on for another, let's say he continues fighting until he's into his maybe late 40s, this guy could easily have 10 defeats on his record. And at that point, I don't think you can be an all-time great.
No, you can't with that record. It'd be one thing if you lost 7 in a row and you bounce back and you won 29 on the bounce or something. But when you're losing, when you've lost 4 fights out of your last, 8, you've lost half of your last 8 fights, that's no good. There's no way you can really spin that.
Vladimir Klitschko had 6 defeats, but 2 of them came in his last 2 fights, and I'm pretty sure he had 60 fucking 1 wins or something like that.
Nice. So
that kind of makes up for the defeats. But yeah, Sean Strickland, 7th loss, 2nd loss in a row to the same opponent. It's not good when you lose twice to the same guy. Can you really get a 3rd match when you've already, especially when the second fight was so one-sided? I think if the second fight's a split decision, you can argue that you were getting better and you were getting closer, and that maybe the next one you can win. But when the first fight is really close and then the second fight is so one-sided, the 3rd fight... But then again, Tyson Fury Wilder was similar to that.
Yeah, and it got the 3rd
The only
fight.
difference is the first fight wasn't close, but they gave it a draw, so that's about as close as you can get. Second fight, Tyson Fury dominated him. 3rd fight, Wilder got a 3rd fight. Will Strickland get a 3rd fight? He's probably going to have to earn it. He's probably going to have to regroup, pick some wins up. I don't think the guy's active enough. His last 3 fights, there's been about 6 months between them all. Like I said, approaching 43, he's going to need to win, I'd say, at least 3 or 4 fights in a row to get another world title shot. That's the thing, see when boxing, see when you lose a title, see unless you've got that automatic rematch, see how long some of these title fights take to happen, you realistically are almost frozen out. It's different in boxing because there's 4 different belts, 4 different organisations. In the UFC, there's the one.
Yeah.
For each division. So if you lose, see Sean Strickland, I reckon he could be looking at maybe not even getting a title shot. I'd say the earliest he can get a title shot is 2027. At the absolute earliest.
No, I'd say so as well. When you look at some of his previous fights, at less than a month between the 17th of December and the 14th of January 22-23. So you can quickly build your way back up, but if he suffers another loss in his next fight, it's got to be curtains.
Yeah, got to be curtains down under, but he went down under, and that's pretty much it, guys. Let's know what you thought.
No
of,
Trump for him though in Sydney. Trump was at the Super Bowl.
Yeah, Trump didn't make the travel to Sydney. Some of the other results here from UFC 312. You had obviously Duplessis defeating Strickland. Shang Wei Li defeated Tatiana Suarez. Taliesin Texeira defeated Justin Tava. Jimmy Crute beat Rudolfo Bellato, and Jake Matthews defeated Francisco Prado. Not quite as good as Miguel Prado.
You got the octagon, I got city fucking hall.
I mean, people can say what they want, right? And they make fun of CM Punk saying he didn't deserve to be on the main card, but the fact is, see UFC, like, you just don't have that many draws. They don't have that many superstars. They've lost. I mean, I would say that, see, when you look at Dana White, the three biggest stars that he had, he lost prematurely. I mean, Conor McGregor, career just fell off the face of the earth due to drink, drugs, and him getting into trouble and just seemingly having no interest in training. Ronda Rousey lost 2 fights, threw the toys at the pram, went to join fake wrestling, and Brock Lesnar got enticed back to WWE.
Yep.
And kind of quit because he had an illness. So, like, Dana White, he was probably, at one point he had all 3 of them. Now he's got none of them.
And you know what, though? It's one of those sports that doesn't need draws, but by God does draws help, because I look at this, right, and the only name I'm recognising here, I'm not even rating that, is Sean Strickland, and it's nothing to do with his ability. It's to do with the fact he's very vocal in support of Trump.
Yeah, I mean, you look at this boxing card coming up in Saudi Arabia, the one with Daniel Dubois, Joseph Parker, and like you're looking at that, and there's a lot of noticeable names. Like, I'm not even joking. You look at that card, that main card. There's 7 fights on it, and I think out of the 14 fighters, I know 11 of them. I mean, I look at UFC cards, and you barely know, outside of the main event, you barely recognise anybody on these cards. So, see, when people talk about CM Punk and they're complaining, why did he come in? Why did he get $500,000? Why did he get this huge prize fund and all this? The reason they got it is because the UFC, they're desperate for stars. They're desperate for people that can draw in tickets. And
We've seen it with YouTuber boxing, right? People care more about actual names boxing each other rather than actually 2 boxers. That's just the fucking reality of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the fact is, Dana White would love to get Logan Paul in the octagon.
And you know what, right? That's,
even though in ability he might not be that good.
That's why I've grew up watching wrestling, but to me, wrestling was always about the characters. I didn't actually care about the fight itself, like, hurting each other and like who's actually going to win a real fight. It was about the characters, and it's the same in movies. Like, I'd rather Arnold Schwarzenegger and Stallone have a fucking fist fight in the 80s than 2 of their stunt doubles, even if it's a better fight with the stunt doubles. And I think that's just it with UFC and boxing. I care more about the actual stars.
Yeah, I mean, you want good fighters, but if someone's got no personality, then...
Like, the prelim cards, right, might have the best match of the night, but who cares? It's like the FA Cup. If the FA Cup has the best round in round 1 between 2 amateur teams, it's not quite Arsenal United in a cup final. Yeah,
the Klitschko brothers got basically, they got blamed for ruining heavyweight boxing. And it wasn't because they couldn't box. It wasn't because they were getting beat. No, I mean, it wasn't because they were shite. They're actually very good, and people might not like this, but the Klitschkos in their primes probably beat a lot of fighters from previous eras in their primes, but they just didn't like the Klitschkos because they were too like too nice, too cookie cutter, too just media friendly. Some people want characters. People want charismatic guys.
We need Dr. Steelhammer.
So it is what it is. Anyway, guys, that's it. We'll catch you in the next one. Till then, peace.